Welcome to the Why Not Today podcast, where we celebrate courage, determination, the power of saying, why not today? I'm your host, Leslie Kane, and in each episode, we dive into inspiring stories of individuals who have taken bold steps, faced their fears, and embraced the possibility of today. From entrepreneurs to artists, dreamers to doers, we explore the moments when they said, enough waiting, why not today? Join me as we uncover the heartwarming, the audacious, and the transformative. Whether it's pursuing a lifelong passion, overcoming obstacles, or simply choosing joy, our guests share their journeys and inspire us all. I started this podcast in honor of my father, Patrick Kane, who often said, why not today? And remember, we're just one decision away from changing our life. And my guest today is Jenna Larson, and this is kind of extra fun because I really don't know anything about Jenna's backstory. And we got connected through my friend Wendy Taylor, who was on the podcast. Well, depending on when this comes out, she was in an episode before this, and I met her virtually. She's in Nashville. I'm in Virginia. Ironically, though, her dad used to live in the same town I lived in, which was funny. And she, as a kid, she came to visit. But we have become friends, and then she introduced me to Jenna and everything Jenna is doing. And I've been a faithful follower of Jenna and everything she's got going on. And I'm just like, I want to hear your story. So as I said, I have no idea what your story is, so it's going to be kind of fun to unfold it. So welcome, Miss Jenna, and share a little about who you are and a fun fact about you, and then we'll get into your courage story.
Well, and it's so funny, like, I'm sitting here just listening to your intro, and I already have tears. I'm like, "Oh my God, like, this is just so good," and I'm just so excited to be able to, like, talk about this stuff because I think it's so important. But yeah, I am a business owner, a mom of 2 boys, a wife, a child of God, and, a fun fact is that, I used to be a coxswain, which is the person that is in the Olympic rowing boats where I'm like yelling and getting these, rowers to basically do something that their body doesn't even believe they're capable of doing. And so I did that
So were you in the Olympics?
I wasn't, but I did coach Olympians
Oh, wow.
and get to be their coxswain after they retired from the Olympics. So very,
Cool.
very cool. Yeah.
That's the fun thing. Everybody's fun facts are pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what does courage mean to you, Jenna?
For me, courage means doing something regardless of the outcome, right? Like not having any indication of could this go well, could this not, doing it anyways.
So true. And, we just need to jump sometimes and do it. And as I often say, sometimes the courage, the why not today is getting out of bed
Yeah.
for some people.
Yeah.
And it's not always the big things. Sometimes it's just the little things.
Absolutely.
So I don't know your courage journey at all, but I always, when we talk to people, I always identify, and usually before we come on, we talk about this, but why not today moments? And those are moments in your life where you remember exactly where where you were, what you're doing, almost what you were wearing and feeling when you made that decision that changed the trajectory of your life. And so I know you have a very successful business now, and you do all kinds of cool things. And we will for sure talk about that. And if you listen to the end, there's going to be a special promo kind of thing that you can get introduced to Jenna's business. But I know you came from corporate. So what are some of those moments, whether it's personal, professional, how you got to where you are?
I think it's honestly why I'm here is because I do live my life. Why not today? I talk about this thing where people have bucket lists all the time. And while I think they're great, I also think they're very harmful because I think what happens is when you say, oh, I'm going to put this on my bucket list, it gives you permission to never do anything about it because you put it in this like bucket where it's this thing that's so hard or so big that you couldn't possibly do it. And so I kind of have this rule for myself where I'm like, if I say I want to do something, I'm going to do it and it's going to be started immediately. So, a couple examples, I was like, I want to do a TED Talk. And most people would put it on a list and then, oh, it's too big, it's too big. No, I went and found one, I applied, and then I did my TED Talk, And so like these are kind of the things that I feel like I am such an example of doing it. And so my big one is that I was working in corporate. I had a job and I was there for 10 years. It was one of those things where I was literally the top of my company. I was done by 11 o'clock with my job every day. They were my family. Like I could have stayed at that company for the rest
So
of my
you're an overachiever. You got your work done early in the day.
It just was like I loved the job. I was good at it. I was happy. Like it was just one of those things. But I was sitting in church one day and God knocked on my head and was like, hey, you're going to leave and you're going to start a company. And I was like, sir, wrong girl. Like, I'm good. I'm not leaving. What are you talking about? And so we had this little conversation like, no, I think you're mistaken. Like,
I was talking to somebody about that today, and have you heard the story of the guy that was drowning, I think, and God sends like somebody
oh,
in
yeah.
a car and then a boat, and he sends all these things, and the guy's like, I'm waiting for God to help me. And he's like, I just sent you all these.
Yeah,
Like, we
totally.
ignore those knocks, but
Yeah.
we need to pay
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah. So, he's relentless and he was with
Mhm.
me. And so, he knocked a couple times and I was like, okay, fine. And so I made the decision to walk away from my corporate career. And, as I was making the decision, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I don't even know. Right.
So
Like,
you didn't have another business yet?
oh, no, 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 no.
Okay.
The only guidance was like, you're quitting your job and you're going to start a business. And so I was like, well, what would I do? And I'm like, well, I like to, get people to perform at their optimum level. I was, a collegiate coach. I coached Olympians. I worked in corporate. I ran teams. I was like, well, I'm just going to take what I've gotten from those experience and I'll be a performance coach. And so I walked into my boss's office and I was like, hey, I'm quitting. And I'm gonna start a company. He's like, why? I'm like, well, because God told me to. And he was like, what? So he thought I was crazy. I called my husband. I'm like, hey, husband, I think I need to do this. I'm going to leave my corporate position. I also found a coach. She's $30,000, but I think I need to hire her to make it work. And he's like, well, we don't have $30,000, but if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be you. So great. And I was like, no. I'm kind of thinking as I start to tell these people, they're going to be like, what are you doing? You're absolutely crazy. We're not going to do this. But my husband was like, great. If anyone can, it's you. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll call my mom. Call my mom and I'm like, Mom, I'm doing this. And she's like, I've been waiting for this phone call for 2 years. I'm like, oh my God, fine. So it was like so
Wow.
clear, but really I had no plan. But, it was one of those moments where it was like, okay, I don't know what the outcome is. It could be an absolute flop. But for me, the only definition of success in that moment was, are you doing what God asked you to? Yes or no. And as long as I did that, that equaled success to me. So it didn't matter if I made money or if I made an impact. It was just like, am I fulfilling what I'm supposed to? And so to just go without knowing, and I think that's kind of courage to me also equals faith in doing the thing, whether you know you're going to succeed at it or not, right? And that was such a pivotal thing that I did. It literally changed my entire life. So I went from
Definitely a
corporate.
why not today moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Opened this company and life changed, right? Like everything was amazing. But I thought that was the answer. Like, oh my gosh, this is where I was supposed to be.
So you were doing performance coaching?
Yeah, a totally different company, which by the way, you had asked about network marketing. I somehow accidentally started coaching network marketers because all of the experience I had really translated well to teaching them business and how to get clients and how to keep them. And so I ended up like fully accidentally building this entire
And
coaching.
then once you get in with one, they all tell their friends.
Oh, I would speak at their conventions. I mean, it like snowballed. It was
Yeah.
crazy. But even then, like I thought that was the answer. Like that's what God wanted me to do. I'm like, okay, I made it. This is amazing. And then I had another like, wait a minute, this is not it, right? And same kind of thing where I just had this crazy idea and I was like, well, I need to create a software to help entrepreneurs manage their leads and social media. And it's the same experience where it was like, who the heck am I? First of all, I'm just little Jenna. I've never made a software in my life. It's a male, industry. Like, who the heck do you think you are? Right. But it was again one of those, well, why can't I? Why shouldn't I? And so I just did it, and I think that's the big thing. It's like, I think so often we think about like all the reasons why we can't. And I really live in a place like, well, why can't we? Like, let's just do it and see what happens. And I think that is truly the difference between people who are getting success, whether it be personal, life, whatever, business, and those who don't. It's just, I'm the only one, not the only one, but I am one of the ones that is just like, well, I'm going to do it regardless, and have that courage moment to be like, well, we're just going to do it.
I think our paths are similar.
Yeah.
That I worked for corporate America myself and then just kind of fell into a direct selling business,
Yeah.
not thinking it was going to be a success or anything. And watching that opposed to working in this negative corporate environment, I'm like, there's a much better world. So I made a plan to quit my job, to go shopping with a friend And if you ask any good friends of mine, I don't even like to shop.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to miss out. So I quit my job in November 1999. Didn't replace the salary. And I'm single. I didn't have like a backup
Yeah.
husband or anything. I'm just like, you know what? There is a better world. If it doesn't work, I'll get another job.
Yeah.
And literally that was in November. At the end of April in 2000, my dad had a major stroke.
Mm.
And I was able to stop everything. I was able to be there. I was able to be at the hospital when my family was all working and still tie in my business and still pursue and get customers while I was in the hospital. When they released me from the hospital, I literally said, hold on, Dad, you've been in the hospital for 4 months, but I'm going to recruit this person before
Oh, I think that's
you leave,
hysterical.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I've lived my life. It's just, you know, what's the worst thing? You know, you'll get another job, you'll do something. Somebody actually gave me a coach or something about failure is not failure is something. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even need that because failure has never even phased me. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna work, or if it doesn't, we'll pivot and we'll try something else.
Yeah. One of the stories I always think about, it's like this, it actually was like uh what am I trying to say? Like a Bible story, but it was like this idea about getting your feet wet, right? Like you could stand on the shore and the promised land may just be right there. But if you don't take the first step with the reality that you're going to get your feet wet, you will never know if the sea's going to part, right? And so
Yep.
I always live by this motto, like, just be willing to get your feet wet. Just take that one step.
And
And
that's
guess
what it
what?
requires.
If you start to drown, get swimming lessons or turn around or do whatever. But if you never take that first step with the reality that yes, your feet might get wet, you will never know what's just
Well, and
literally right there.
so many people operate from this fear, and I think that's where my passion is, that they're so afraid to try. And I live in right outside of DC, and so many people want those until a few months ago, one of those secure government positions
Mhm.
because they have a secure job.
Yeah.
And you know, people always look at me and they're like, doesn't that scare you to work for yourself? I'm like, no, I am completely in charge of myself, my
Yep.
destiny, my paycheck, as
Yep.
opposed to somebody else being in charge. But you know,
100%.
so many people are so fearful. And I was on a leadership call a couple months ago, and they were talking about people literally have um, countdown clocks on their desk until they retire.
Mm.
Like how depressing, like you're
Yeah.
waiting to, I'm like, I'm going to recreate things. And I think your story is similar to a lot of people I've talked to.
Yeah.
Where we start and where we finish are completely different, and we're not done.
Oh
And
yeah. No.
everybody kind of has a story behind a story. All right, so I
100%.
interrupted your story. So you decided to start a software company, not knowing anything about software, but
Yeah, what the
everything's
heck?
figure
Yeah.
outable.
What am I doing? Yeah, no, I mean, it's just so crazy. I called a man who is now my business partner and was like, "Oh my God, I have this crazy idea." And he was like, "It's impossible." I was like, "Well, that's not what I wanted to hear, you know?" And then he called me back 2 weeks later and was like, "I did it." And we just did it. And again, same idea. We like had this one little baby idea. We did that one thing. And now it is not even close to what we built 5 years ago because we just took that one step and the sea did part for us. And all of these crazy things started happening. And, you know, it became $1 million business within 3 years with zero ad spend. I mean, we're very proud of the work we've done. And not only that, like the amount of, you know, other coaches we've been able to, you know, or business owners that have been able to impact more people because of our software. But you know, I think about it all the time, like, who the heck am I? Like, and it's really funny too, because in the
You're a
business
child
world,
of God,
well,
and you are unique.
that is exactly the answer. I mean, that is the answer, but it's so crazy because like in my personal life, my friends, I'm kind of a hot mess. Like, and you'll start to hear this, Leslie, as you get to know me more. Like, I'm kind of a disaster when it comes to like easy things, like, you know, putting dishes away or submitting a credit card bill. Like, I struggle to do like everyday things, right? So when they hear you own $1 million business and you're in charge of all these clients and all these, you know, employees, they think that's crazy because they know who I am, which is like kind of cuckoo all over the place, you know?
But
But
you're
you
a
know,
big thinker, and
yeah.
you've got huge vision, and you're creative. And
Yeah,
so those are your superpowers. And
right,
you can hire somebody to do all the other crazy things.
right? Thank goodness, thank
Yeah.
goodness. But yeah, I just there are times where I look back and I'm like, "Who is this little girl?" Like, and I say little girl because I mean it kind of demeaning in a way where I before would never have believed that just this normal, average, humble person could accomplish these things that I have. And the only reason I am here in the position I am is because I took action when I didn't know if it was going to pay off the way that, the world would consider a payoff. But for me, my only definition of success, especially when I did that big, courageous move to court or to entrepreneurship, was just, am I fulfilling God's will? And that if the answer is yes, then great, that's a win and we're just going to do it. But the other thing I do a lot is I always put myself in a position to win. So for example, I teach people how to follow up with leads and make sales. Well, one of the things that's really important when I'm coaching people is that I never have them define success based on any other external outcomes because we can't control them. So, for example, if we're sending follow-up messages, my answer is, did you reach out today? Yes or no? And as long as you say yes, you did accomplish your goal today, right? We can't say, well, how many people read it and how many people responded and how many
Not
people
in charge.
answered? Yeah. So, I do a lot of things. I play a lot of games in my own head where I make it so that as long as I frame it that I'm going to win regardless, then I will. And so I do the thing because it's easier to run into happiness than it is to fire. So I'm just like, how do I make this position or this scenario something that I can win no matter what?
And it's gamifying it too.
Yeah, 100%.
It's the effort. And I think you mentioned one time, and I've taught this for years, how many no's can we get? I knew
That's
somebody,
success.
she was making calls and she lined up a bunch of chocolate kisses.
Yes.
Every time she made a call, she got a kiss. And it
Totally.
wasn't no. And it was interesting. I think the last call I was on with you and you were talking about it is our business. We're in charge. And we need to follow up and we have to be in charge and people aren't. And everything you said, I'm like, okay, I've taught that for 30 years. Like, why am I not applying it now with my new business? And,
Yeah.
we're in charge. And I actually had a team member one time and she was calling her prospect. And one day she called and her phone was disconnected. And the person actually thought that her prospect had disconnected her phone because she called her too often. And I'm like, first of all, you have not that much power and not that
No.
important. She was dialing the wrong phone number, but I'm like, nobody cares that much about us.
Well, and I think I say this a lot where it's like, how do we, like, if we're going to tell ourselves stories, because we do all the time, she, disconnected her phone because I called too much. She didn't answer me because of this. She didn't buy because of this. Like, we make up all these stories. So I'm like, okay, well, this is the truth about being a human. So why don't we just make a conscious effort to make up a great story? Like,
You are in my head because that is what I
right?
talk about. Like, well, let's make a good story. Why do we make a bad story?
No, like they're going to find money to work with us because they're so excited.
Right.
It's like, yeah, and I think that's just the reality. It's like if you're gonna make up, if you think you can tell the future or know what is really happening, then first of all, that's not true. But second of all, then let's just make it a positive one because it'll make you take action. So it's kind of gamifying, but it's kind of like defining success in a way that will always have you win. But it's also doing it regardless, whether you
Yeah.
win or not. Like just do the work.
Yeah. And, if you work for somebody else, I worked doing cold call sales for years and literally I had to make so many calls. I didn't care what they said. I just had to make so many calls.
Yep.
And I think then, well, especially as business owners, we start to question sometimes and we take things personally. Like if
Totally.
your sister, your best friend, your whatever says no to you, you could care less. But if a stranger says no to you, it ruins your day. I'm like, why do we let people have that power over us?
Well, and for me, for example, or any entrepreneur that has built the product, a service, a coaching offer, a software, right? When someone tells you no or is like complaining about it, it feels very personal because like this is my other baby. Like
Right.
GroupTrack is my child and a little bit different than my other boys, but you know what I mean, right? And so it is really hard not to take it personal, but I'll just make up stories about why you don't like it. You know what I mean? That make me feel better because that's just the
We have
reality.
no control over what they believe and what they think and also timing of things. Like I used to say, you call Susie Q to book an appointment and she has had the most horrendous day. Her walked in the house and there's a flood, the kids are throwing up. dinner's late, she got in traffic, everything's wrong. You call to book an appointment and she's like, heck no. You call her the next day, her husband's brought dinner and flowers and her kid got an A, and she's like, of course. So, you don't know what's going on
Right.
in somebody else. You just got to keep asking and following up. And I think that's one of the things that you talk about is not giving up. I had somebody literally reach out to me the other day, 13 years later. I met her on a boat on a lake and spent 24 hours with her. We've became friends on Facebook, and she reached out. She's like, are you still selling Mary Kay? I need some products. 13 years later.
Yeah, that's wild.
Isn't that crazy? So don't give up.
The analogy that I always use, because I think it works really well. So I have a kiddo, he was in travel baseball. It was really like high stakes,
Right.
and he was at the, at the batter's box, and he was gonna, go to hit the ball, and he got hit with the ball by the pitcher. And once that happened, it psyched him out. Like it freaked him out. So every time he would go up to bat, he would get so paralyzed that he would do nothing. Right. And I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, he's going to lose his team, the team. He's going to be so sad. He can't perform, So I'm like, well, I'm a collegiate coach and I coached Olympians. I will step in. Right. So I'm like, okay, Riker, if you hit the ball, I'm going to pay you. Right. And so I'm thinking like, oh, I'm such a good coach. Well, guess what? Riker went back up, did nothing different. And I was like, well, why not? I told him I would pay him. And then I realized it was because I was focused on the result, not the behavior I wanted. So I was like, erase that, Riker. Every time you swing the bat, I will pay you. I don't care if the ball's on the floor, up in the air, around the corner. I could care less. You swing the bat, I will pay you every time you swing it. So Riker goes up, swings the bat, hits the ball, gets the best game ball of the entire, day. And it is just such a great reminder that if we don't focus on the result and we just focus on the steps and the actions that we know we need to take, the results will come. And
what a good analogy.
Oh, it's so good. So we talk, especially in our coaching program all the time, swing the bat. What did you do to swing the bat today? Because the reality is if you swing it consistently enough, you are bound to hit the ball. And they do every single time. But if we focus on the result, just like I tried with Riker, it's not going to work. Yeah, you totally do. Right? Because it's like that doesn't move you forward. It's the action that does, and seeing the truth.
Yeah, my niece, who when she was little, she's very small. She's like 5 feet tall, barely. And for some reason, my sister decided to put her in basketball. And so same thing. If she touched the ball, she got a Starbucks drink afterwards.
Perfect.
Like,
yeah,
just touch it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Control what you can control and win. Like put yourself in position to win all the time.
Love that. So let's talk about your software, because I'm sure I haven't signed up for it yet, but I'm close. And all your coaching and everything you do I know you offer lots of freebie things, which I've been taking advantage of and learning so much.
Oh, good.
And I've actually bumped 2 appointments on the time of your free classes now. I'm like, this is so important. In last week's call, that Tasha, who I'm going to have on the podcast as well, she used me as an example. And I'm like, I am so glad I didn't watch the recording. So,
oh, good. Well, it's so fun. Tasha and I work together in corporate. And so we come from the same world, and actually I went into her cubicle one day and I was like, what are you doing? You need to quit and go start your own business. So she did. Then 2 years later, she said the same thing to me, which then, kind of helped.
And we need those friends, right?
Oh yeah. She is my ride or die for sure. Yeah. What a treat.
So,
that'll be great.
All right. So talk about GroupTrack. What does it do? What services do you do? What can you offer people? Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. So anybody who's a business owner who uses social media as a mechanism to get clients, right? Whether you're doing a Facebook group or an Instagram page or a personal page, it doesn't really matter, right? All of the people who are using social media to get clients have all of these leads that are sitting there. And, the big problem that a lot of them have is not being able to track those leads consistently, know where the person is. Like, did I make them an offer? Did they say yes? And so a lot of people were losing conversations and money through the cracks, whether it be in the group or in the DMs or whatever. So basically what we created with the software is just a follow-up system. So you guys are probably familiar with the word CRM, customer relationship management system.
Amazing how many people have no idea what that is.
Yeah. I mean, and I always like to just call it a follow-up system. Who am I working with? How do I follow up next? That's really it, right? The difference for ours though is that it lives on Facebook or Instagram. So that way you're not having to be like, oh, I got this person engaging with my post. Let me copy their information onto a spreadsheet and then lose it. Or, oh my gosh, this person DM'd me, you know? So our tool interfaces right on top of Facebook and Instagram so that you can work where your people are, which is on social media. So really, it's just an amazing way to track and organize your leads and know who to follow up next so that you don't lose sales through the cracks.
That's so important because these days too, people communicate so many different ways. I have 2 phone numbers, 2 email addresses. I have social media. People message me, they text me, they email me, and it's like, where did I see that come through? And
Yeah.
a tracking system.
It's a game changer. I mean, it's
Amazing.
wild. We have a tool, part of it is like you can go into your messenger DMs and you can organize it. But we have one button that literally just filters through your DM inbox and it shows you your unread messages. We had
Well,
a
I
guy,
was trying to find that just in my messenger,
oh,
just
you
to
don't have it.
filter. You
Yeah.
can't.
No,
Like,
it's just, yeah.
it's
Facebook
like,
does
all
not
right,
give it to you.
they're lost forever.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a guy, Daniel, he sent some messages to make some offers. You know, DM inbox is chaos. It's a complete disaster. He pushed this button that group track offers. All of his unread messages popped to the top, and he realized he had made all these offers, and 27 people had responded, yes, I want to buy it. But he never saw the messages because they
Oh,
got,
got buried.
scrambled up. And so I said, oh my gosh, Daniel, please calculate how much money would you have closed should you had followed up and made the sale? And it was $57,000 that he
That's crazy.
missed. Yeah. So it's like one button is all he had to push and he could have closed
Wow.
$57,000. That's
Well,
insane.
we will include in the show notes a link to GroupTrack.
Awesome.
And the best way to find, we'll include all your contact, but what's the best way for somebody to find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. I'm Jenna Dubois Larson, or you're welcome to join our Facebook group, which is Organic Sales System powered by GroupTrack. So you can even go onto Facebook and just search GroupTrack and our group should pop right up.
I'll include that too in the show notes.
Perfect.
So I always try to connect back to my dad. And oh, actually, before we go there, I want to ask you one question because I think I saw something in your messages or something. So do you have a kiddo that's in a special school that you drive
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
aren't you glad you have your own business to do that? And do you want to share anything about that? Because I
Oh
just
my
think
God.
that's amazing.
There's literally no way that I could do what I'm doing without having done this. That was like the most vague statement. I do have a kiddo who has dyslexia, and public school just was not meeting his needs. And so we found a school an hour away that literally cost the amount of private law school I mean, we could buy a car every year for the
Wow.
cost that it spends, yeah, to go there. But because I own my own company, I've been able to basically I rent an office down in the town he lives in. We drive an hour, I drop him off, I come here, I work, and then we drive home together every day. And without owning my own business, number one, there's no way I could afford it. Like not even a question. It was like, I mean, there were times where that was my, salary for the year was what
Right.
we paid this school. But let alone just the flexibility to work wherever I need to work. And it's actually been wonderful because I can come in and be more focused and
I
then
was gonna
try to
say
go.
you probably get more done.
I do.
And
And I
what a
really,
blessing to have
oh
that
yeah.
time in the car with your son.
Oh, well, let me tell you, from just the conversations that we would have never been granted because we're, in the fast-paced life, the moments of just gratitude, or I mean, like we've had like moments where I'm just sitting there crying because my little kiddo's in the back seat worshiping, and I'm just like, I cannot. Those moments would have never happened. I remember thinking when you're like up and you have a newborn and you're like, feeding them in the middle of the night and you're just so exhausted. My whole mentality during that time was thank you God for giving me this moment to be able to nurse my kid because I would have never got this moment if I was asleep. Do you know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
I try to think about that with my drive with him as well, like thank you, right? Like if we could just come from a place of
Blessing.
gratitude. But yeah, every day I'm like I would drive like, I mean, and I will also say just the results that this school has brought my kiddo. I mean, it changed his life. And so it's like, I will wash dishes, I will work 50 jobs if that's what it takes to get my kid there. And every single minute is worth it. It's life
That's
changing.
awesome.
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't have heard that knock at church to start your business, to do the things, if you wouldn't said yes, and why not today, and why not today, and why not today, you're
None of it.
affecting your child's life.
100%. Every single thing is because I have said yes to those little moments where it's like, should I do this? And I'm like, why wouldn't I? I love that it's called Why Not Today. And that's why when you were just doing your intro, I got a little bit teary because I feel so deeply that everything in my life is because I have said yes to those moments and to that question, why not?
Right.
And when you actually start to do those things, your life will open up in a way that you could not possibly believe it could. And I think that truly, like I said earlier, the difference between me and other people is I said, yeah, why not? Let's go. And they didn't. And that's it. That's truly the only difference. I'm not smarter. I am not braver. I'm nothing. I just said, okay, let's do it. That's it.
Who knows? And there's somebody I worked with, and I left my job 25 years ago. He is still with the company, and he was almost in tears when I left. Not at all because he was sad I was leaving, but because he would never have the nerve to do it himself. And he's been there since college, and he's still there.
Wow.
And it is such a negative place.
Yeah.
It's still there. So
Yeah.
sad. Well,
Yeah.
I went back to, I started to talk about my dad and the connections. So first of all, he grew up in California. So I don't know where you are in California.
Southern California.
Okay, because he grew up in San Fernando Valley.
I think that's like more
LA.
towards LA. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about an hour and a half away from LA.
Okay. How far are you from San Diego?
Hour and 15.
Okay. That's where
Probably
my
like right
nephew.
in the middle. Yeah.
So yeah, he grew up there. And then just your positive attitude. Everything was figure outable.
Yeah.
He owned his own business my entire life, and I got to see him be there for things and, be at events and be there. And I'm so glad that I took that path too, to be able
Yeah.
to be there.
Yeah, you said, why not? Let's do
Why
it.
not today?
Thanks,
Exactly.
Dad.
And I keep saying that. So how would you encourage somebody else to say, why not today? And I know we've kind of touched on it in many ways,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I think if you could just think about, and it's really hard because I don't think our imagination can even go there. I think we protect ourselves by not even putting out into the universe what we think is possible because we're too afraid it wouldn't happen. And I think, at least for me, so much of what's happened was so far beyond imagination. Like I couldn't even, like, would
couldn't
never
imagine.
dream. Yeah. So it's hard. And I think that's really what it comes down to is just being willing to not know and to know like there's so much waiting for you and you don't get to see it until you take the first step. And so, if you could live your life and just say, could I just get my feet wet? Like just take that one step, get your feet wet, and it's okay. Like nothing bad is going to happen if you take that first step because you can
Well,
always
that's what I said when I started my other business. Like I put my toe in the water.
Yeah.
No idea I
Yeah.
would have cars and flexibility and where this 30 years later, where this would have taken me.
Yeah.
And when I had the crazy idea to do a podcast, no idea. And it's introduced me to so many cool, amazing people. Like I'd never know you if it wasn't for
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, be willing to get your feet wet. That is like the motto of my life. Just get your feet wet. Just get your feet wet. I say it all the time. And it is so possible that the promised land is right there and you just don't know because you're not willing to put that toe in. And if you did, you would be shocked. And yeah, if I could just lovingly scream, and just shake your shoulders, like just do one little thing where you get your feet wet and you will see the truth.
And I love your lovingly rants that you
Yeah.
give. I'm
They're
like,
from love, but I really want to be like, come
I
on.
know. And I think you're going to shake me. So,
Yep.
well, thank you for everything you shared. And as I said, we will include a link to everything about you, your Facebook group, because I think there's power in there. And if anybody's interested in GroupTrack, we will include a link for that. And so as you follow Why Not Today, we're a movement encouraging people to live their life, to do it brave, and to pursue your dreams. And we have a fairly new website at whynotTodayMovement.com, and there's courses and there's coaching, events, all kinds of fun things, not just a podcast, because I really feel like we need to spread the word. Oh, and you can get Why Not Today merchandise to spread the word.
Very
Which is
cool.
fun.
How
So
neat.
thank you, Jenna, for joining us, and thank you everybody for joining us on this inspiring journey. Remember, every day is an opportunity to take action, chase your dreams, and make a difference. So why not today? And if you enjoyed this, share it with a friend. Tell somebody else to listen and put their toe in the water. And remember, say, why not today? So thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.